Stillborn to Life, a novella by Valerie and Stevens. Chapter 12. Fear resides in rage in its purest, most concentrated form. Rage becomes annihilated only through fear's refusal to be acknowledged. All must be fully seen and known for what it is and for what it is not. Joy is often a mere premonition of despair. An embrace of internal chaos and conflict is often masked contempt for inner tranquility and contemplation of their less visceral experience. And just as a numbing down can signify an attempt to safeguard the essence from dumbing down, passion, which merely springs from a dread of stagnation, is more likely than not artifice constructed out of flimsy detritus and holonomic geometry of the death-sure blueprint of time. Loneliness, though shunned as a desirable state of being, is often sought with just as much deliberation to fill that hollow, aching resonance struck into tune by the cruel yet usual rebuke of alienation in its pervasive, intractable expressions. Envy is the mother-lode of all social dissension, yet if properly sublimated, can lead one to heights Icarian, nevertheless depths quite frightfully Dantean. But of all the mortal phases of psyche, fear, both despite and because of its tenacity and omnipresence, is the most needless. It is most persuasive and most invasive, which is why triumph over it is most meritorious and heroic. Yet it is not fear's absence which we must strive for, rather our unshakable presence in the face of it. For we cannot seek to be fearless so that we may live, but we must fully live so that we may draw our strength and stoicism from those things which conquer all fear. I have lived without fear a few times in my life, yet knew at the same time that I would never be free of it. For in the throes of love organic, I was met with only a spurious kind of unencumbrance, for many more fears than ever before came to reside in places where the old ones had fled. Yet matched with the love divine, the only fear left was that fear of fear's wrathful sperm return, lest the love divine be snatched away by the Herculean hand of an ambivalent heart and a ruminative mind. Love is by nature formative and not wont to destruction, even in the highest places where it abides. Yet by nature we are seemingly much more enamored with destructive longing than constructive surrender. Thus we taketh away before we are taken from, self-subversion's covert and crafty creed. Love is the demiurge of our world, constant and unchanging in a time of irrelevant matters and fertile ideas. The love divine is a master sculptor working diligently to bring all defective masses to perfection, time and time again. Yet the nature of the masterpiece is to continually refuse to remain malleable, pliant, to allow its form to totally surrender to its creator, a creator who knows that the only way towards perfection is through complex deconstruction and dissection. And even when a tree clings to its last leaf, for surrendering its former bloom and incarnation to the tomb of winter, it eventually lets go, knowing that it can be reborn only from the weeping womb of the erstwhile. I say, bleed me until I replenish, for this blood runs swift as the rivers, ever returning to the same source. But this soul's hands so strong-willed are my bane, for the one thing they cannot hold on to is the one thing which they crave to cradle most. For my lovers may long to hold my hand, but like a deluded amputee, they will become convinced that it still remains in theirs long after I have gone, for I am gone from the very beginning. Others would never have me at anything but goodbye, for these were all I knew, perhaps all I cared to know. And I simply could not give my heart away to just anyone, for most recipients would reject a heart coming from a lachrymose and ill-matched donor. This is why, when she came to see me one cold December evening, that it would be our last meeting. I was at the private indoor pool which I had been able to get installed for myself with some royalties I had earned off a collection of my poems, which had done surprisingly quite well within certain shrewdly targeted points of sale. Since I had complete privacy, I swam and then lounged in the nude on a chair by the poolside near a wooded area by my flat. And then she emerged from the woods. As she approached me, I could see that she, too, was nude, having discarded of her clothing behind some foliage as she watched me from afar. She walked with an air of delicate self-possession, her slight but well-rounded form swaying in cadence with an almost regal bearing. The supple buds of her ample breasts were piquant with anticipation and prowess as they swayed like the lazy pendulums of time to the heavy gravity surrounding her unearthing, the physics of feminine dynamics, kinetics, mesmerizing and enthralling me. Her waxen dark hair sprawled about her shoulders like the wetted feathers of a raven bird, longing to be loosed, freed, and set aflight in a ruffle by my plundering caress. As she drew nearer and nearer, her lips, following the same soft, sensuous curvature of her anatomy, set into a mysterious, sly smile as her dark eyes sparked and leapt with the fire and rushing tepidity of erotic enigma and promised sensual subjugation. I now stood, erect and transfixed, my eyes filling with a kind of luminous madness. My tongue flitted nervously about my teeth and dry lips, Adam's apple bobbing up and down as I swallowed, struggling to catch my breath and regain my bearings. My whole body pulsated and vibrated with a cool, mercurial, electric sensibility, and yet felt completely paralyzed as my soul, too, began to swell with an odd mixture of animalian desire and ominous terror. I could not move. And then she spoke, and my whole animus stirred with the sweet, covetous yin and primeval turmoil. My breath now came in ragged gasps, my muscles tensed and coiled like a serpent lying in ravenous wait, and the booming thrum of my heart coupled with the mad rush of blood quickening in my veins made a roar like a raging sea in my head. It was as though I was being born for the very first time. Only this time, it wasn't my Father Creator who was breathing life and spirit to me, but this woman as we dissolved into one another. The function of this biological equation now commuted through its consummation. And suddenly, time-space knew no bounds, and all the life energy of the universe no discreteness. We cleaved unto one another in a desperation born of a hylozoic paroxysm of wanton rapture and procreational providence, as our bodies listened with the alchemical secretions of our exertions, all the world seeming to convulse in ecstatic fervor with us. As I climaxed, I cried out, head thrown back, face bearing a grimace of contorted euphoria and pleasure. She fervently dug her fingers into the taut, rippling flesh on my back. her own back-arching and galvanic response to this highly charged affair as she moaned and gasped sharply inward at the awakening we had found together. As Venus aligned in inept exactitude with the earth, we revolved around each other, her alien eyes fluttering, now fully open, probing me like the mean, mystical binary stars they are. When I let myself be pulled into their glorious gravity, how I would wonder where I was, a lost lion cub traipsing the star-guided land. For down beneath my world so low were her kinetic laws, east, west, north, south, elliptical glow. My meteor showers rained over her sky thrice in a pinkish red moon. And soon the sun passed over my meandering orb, a strange, elusive eclipse of foreseen dew and boyish gloom casting its shadow, as she tells me the next one might not come for the next 70 days. She closes her eyes, a blessing in disguise, our come hither, go thither atoms of mortal cosmic matter, now splitting and separating, spinning and whirling, buoying and girling, the ever-altering alchemic haze and maze, fooling us into believing that we just might have mastered its maddening, enigmatic complexities and eternally exited its boundless bounds of time-space causation. Yet how quickly it would come again, that we would implode and explode, shatter, flatter and flatter, to the weathered walls of our bonded need, rocketed by love-lust's creed, its wily sharp turns and intricate patterns forgetting us, time and again. Yet we still kept thinking that we were found, having come full revolution, only to lose our way, universally. And as our movements became more languid and satiated, it was as if a new halcyon dawn was burgeoning. We sighed, nestling contentedly within each other's arms, fluttering back down to earth like the spent ashes of some great apocalyptic fire. We lied together afterwards for what seemed both an eternity and an all too ephemeral, fleeting moment in time. And soon we slept and dreamt, and the universe, deeply and restoratively, with us. Then I told her that she could not stay any longer and that this would be our last time together. No, it had to be our last. I could not explain everything to her, for it was not all clear to me. All I knew is that I was what I was, and revered all things natural and unconfined. She left me later that day, as I requested, and I reckoned I would never see her again.